Today's RSM webcast is Omnichannel Experience with SuiteCommerce Advanced. Our presenters for today are Mike Cordell and Oleg Glubachansky. At this time, I'm pleased to turn the call over to our first presenter, Oleg Glubachansky.
Thank you very much, and welcome to our webinar. So today we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about omnichannel commerce, and we're actually really excited to not only have a PowerPoint presentation for you, but also to dig into the product and show you a little bit of how some of these scenarios will work through NetSuite. We'll show you some of the front end, and we'll also dive into some of the back-end functionality on NetSuite ERP. So for introductions, or rather agenda, as I said, we're going to talk about intros. So this is a little bit of time for me and the second presenter, Michael Cordell, to introduce ourselves. We'll talk about what is omnichannel commerce. We'll do a little bit of compare and contrast, and talk about things like omnichannel versus multi-channel and how they work and evolve from each other. We'll talk about NetSuite Glue. So essentially, NetSuite as this thing that will bind the platform and the experience. And this is going to really be covered more in the presentation and the demo portion of the webinar. We'll talk about channel capabilities. So when we talk about omni and multi-channel, we'll try to identify a handful of channels that are really relevant and really hot right now. And we'll talk about some of the capabilities that NetSuite brings to each one of them. Afterwards, we'll jump into the demo, and we'll see them in action. Now, of course, we won't be able to see every feature and every capability of NetSuite, but we're really going to strive to focus on the really core omni-channel scenarios, like being able to pick up in store. Now, of course, NetSuite has an e-commerce platform as well as a point-of-sale platform, so it will be really relevant to kind of touch on both of those. So today presenters, my name is Oleg Glubachansky. You don't have to worry about the last name. And here with me is Michael Cordell. So I'll do my intro first, and then I'll pass the mic on to Mike. So at RSM, my role is the Director of E-commerce and Digital Marketing, which means I lead the practice that focuses on our marketing initiatives as well as e-commerce implementation. So we do implementations for NetSuite's SuiteCommerce Advanced, SuiteCommerce, quote-unquote standard, or formerly known as standard, as well as point of sale, i.e. SuiteCommerce Instore. My background is a number of years at Microsoft doing technical project management, and then a number of years in consulting around various e-commerce platforms. Both me and Mike actually came to RSM through Explore Consulting acquisition, which was a premier partner in the NetSuite ecosystem, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard of. So that said, Mike, if you want to do an intro for yourself.
Thank you. My name is Mike Cordell, and as Oleg mentioned, I work with him on the web team. I'm a solution architect or a manager in the web team, so my role is primarily to work with clients and make sure we understand what it is that they want, and then translate that back to work with the team to define a project. I have a background in graphic design. I spent a long time as a creative director for a NetSuite client and worked hand in hand with the e-commerce platform going back about 14 years. So I used the Site Builder, which was the original NetSuite e-commerce platform, and have been working with SuiteCommerce Advanced for the last 4 years or so. And Oleg and I look forward to presenting to you. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, Mike. So we also have a few polling questions that we'd really appreciate you guys answering. The goal there is to gain a little bit better insights into the audience and make sure we can tailor fit the experience of the slides, of the information we're presenting, as well as of the demo for everyone who's attending the call live. And by the way, thank you very much for jumping on live. Obviously, we'll have a recording available, but we really appreciate you taking time out of your day to be here with us. So the very first polling question: what is your role within the organization, your organization? A, executive or owner. B, IT or some function in the IT. C, marketing. D, NetSuite administrator. I know there's probably a few here. E, implementation partner or an agency, and it's okay if you're a competitor. And F, everything else that we didn't cover. So I'll give you about 30 seconds to answer, and once you have a chance to select the answer and submit, the next slide will show results, so together we can see who's attending. So 30 seconds starting right now. Maybe we'll keep it to a little bit less than 30 seconds. Okay, so I think that's probably good. Let's see the results. So looks like the primary audience here is going to be between other and NetSuite administrators. Well, welcome. Also welcome our other implementation partners and agencies. Next question is really getting a little bit of an insight whether you use NetSuite or you're still in the evaluation process. So the question is, are you currently running NetSuite? Answer A is yes, B is evaluating NetSuite, and C is no. So please go ahead and select your answer right now. Now, if you are already running NetSuite, and we'll find out exactly how many of you are, some of this information may be a little bit of a repeat, but once we get into the demo, I'm sure you'll have a chance to see maybe something new. But also keep in mind that we do have a Q&A session afterwards, and we'll definitely try to preserve maybe 10-15 minutes of the webinar for a live Q&A. So save those questions, and if there is something that's been bugging you or you're trying to implement on your own or not sure if it would work, please do submit a question. Now, of course, time limited, we won't be able to really go N levels deep into those answers, but at least we can give you some insights into how or whether it's possible. So moving on to the answers. Looks like a whopping majority of attendees are running NetSuite. So Mike, you can use all of the professional lingo. I think everyone will understand. So thank you for taking the time to give us a couple of answers here. So getting into the meat of this presentation. So what is omnichannel commerce, or what is omnichannel? Right, the word omni implies that there's many things here, but of course you don't get to omnichannel without going through the other steps in the digital transformation journey. So there's a couple of different ways you can approach digital transformation, and we'll of course limit it primarily to commerce. One way is you can look at it from just taking your paper process and making it digital. In other words, if you were taking orders using carbon copy slips on the phone, you can say, well, I'm just going to stand up an e-commerce website. The order will come in to the website, and that's really the end. The other way you can approach it is by transforming your business altogether. So a great example, even though completely abused and overused, has been Uber. Right? So when you say, Uber of whatever industry, you're really talking about complete disruption and really changing how the industry works. Amazon is doing it in many ways, most recently to fashion and grocery deliveries. Companies like Nordstrom are also trying to come in and play in this arena. Most recently, Walmart has shown really interesting numbers by being able to actually compete with Amazon. But of course, those are juggernauts. When we talk about SuiteCommerce and SuiteCommerce Advanced, usually we talk about mid-market, and folks familiar with RSM and what we do, being a #1 mid-market firm, our focus is very much in the mid-market. But I still talk a little bit about the global trends in commerce, just so we're all kind of aware of what's going on. So when we talk about this digital transformation journey, it usually goes something like that. Before we get into omnichannel, we get into multi-channel. So for a business, when we start maybe selling handmade jewelry on Etsy or one of the other platforms, and really small volume, small user base or customer base, and you'll see a little bit of an upswing and business takes off. And now you feel like, well, maybe I want to get a website going, maybe my own website, or maybe I get like a WordPress blog and try to sell that way, or get an Instagram and try to promote myself through social media. But let's say it's working quite well, and the next thing that happens is you get onto mobile, start to offering some kind of mobile experience. Maybe you open up a store and start to sell a little bit there. But from here, let's say you get contacted by a larger retailer, and all of a sudden they want much larger volumes. They want you to ship. They want you to have a catalog, and they actually are interested in doing wholesale. So now we've got a number of different channels that don't necessarily talk to each other. We now have to spin up a call center of some sort, because now there's a large volume of the product out in the ecosystem, and we're getting calls, we're getting emails from customers, whether they're satisfied and they want more, or maybe they're running into an issue and they're asking for a resolution. Other channels might play into this. Of course, we're trying to cover as much as possible, but we see that even talking to our clients, they find new and exciting ways to engage with their customer base. The main thing here is that each channel operates in a silo. They don't talk to each other. And while this is happening, our client base is becoming more and more sophisticated. Right? Things that are expected is that the web experience and mobile experience essentially the same. I can shop on web just like I shop on mobile. When I call the call center, I expect them to know what I purchased and where. And then if I come to the store, and this is going to be one of the key omnichannel scenarios, I would like to pick up a product, but even more importantly, I want to be able to return it. So if there's something I don't like, I bought it online, I want to take it to the store, and I want the store clerk to know what I did online and be able to help me right there. What we're seeing is this kind of age of customer empowerment or an empowered customer, and it's being driven by these trends where social media plays a much, much larger role in the overall customer journey. Right? It changes how a customer will engage. Potentially, you'll come from Instagram instead of coming from Google search or Bing search. In fact, these other platforms like Amazon and Walmart's platform are becoming really great avenues for the product to be discovered. Everything is shared instantly, and that is the expectation, right? If you can share it, if you don't have a share button, you look for it and potentially you leave. And that's the other consequence out of all of this. Is if you're not seeing the experience you come to expect, you leave and you go try to find this product somewhere else. Very few of our customers have the luxury of having a completely captive audience. In other words, if their website, even being the first choice, is not providing the experience, or the products are maybe out of stock, or it's unclear what's going on, the customer is very likely to leave and go try to find a product somewhere else. So digging into some of these trends, and now we're starting to talk a little bit about the omni-channel retail experience, right? So we talked about kind of multi and transitioning into what it means to be omni and how it is a very complex thing to be able to accomplish with your platform. So let's talk about the in-store pickup, right, and fulfillment. This means that my e-commerce front end is talking to my store, and they're talking about the same inventory. They also have to be aware of who you are when you show up at the store, either by your name or by your credit card or by your phone number. We need to be able to identify you as a customer, figure out what you did online, and be able to deliver that inventory to you in the store. If you want to return, it's a very similar experience. We, again, have to know who you are, be able to take this inventory in at the store level, but also we have to be able to reconcile the inventory with the other warehouses, the other stores, and potentially do something useful with it. We don't want it to just sit at the store forever. How you recover from an out-of-stock experience, as well as being able to ship you an item that's still in progress. In other words, not show it as out of stock, but be able to sell it to you knowing when it will come into the warehouse and when we will be able to ship it out, means advanced integration with your supply chain, as well as with your shipping partners. And then being able to recover from an out-of-stock behavior and communicate clearly for an item being out of stock, for example, at a seasonal level, or perhaps it's coming within 1 to 3 weeks, and I want to clearly communicate it to my clients, as well as take your name, take your email, and follow up with you over email later, are huge. And again, they become kind of a thing that you expect when you engage with a modern retailer. Being able to manage your inventory in an advanced way, I don't want to say advanced inventory management, being able to offer a self-service experience. And we've seen anything from being able to call the customer center right from the browser to what's extremely common, and you almost can't do business without live chat anymore. Right? So being able to provide those types of experiences to your customer really imperative here. Being able to ship same day, which means you not only know when the shipping leaves your warehouse, but can accommodate the time it takes to pick inventory, print labels, and hopefully all that comes from the same system, and give you control on price for how much this will actually cost, and pass that either value onto the client or be able to absorb it into your margins is huge and incredibly complicated. And of course, being able to push your products into whatever marketplace you choose to use, whether it's eBay, Amazon, or any of the other platforms, and being able to do it in a programmatic way so it's not taking up all of your time to go get those product lists together. So really digging into what is omnichannel. Right? So whether we talk about e-commerce, a mobile experience, brick and mortar, social media engagement, being able to maintain our call centers, wholesalers, or really any other way that businesses generate money and value, it's very similar so far to when we talked about multi-channel. We still have very much the same channels, very much the same ways we engage clients. So what is the difference? What makes this omni-channel versus what we just talked about? So for the purposes of this call, and there's a little bit more to it once we dig into upmarket industry, really it is a shared ERP and a shared CRM system. And the ability for all of these channels to actually interact with the system in real time or close to real time, An example being if we're talking about an e-commerce experience and mobile drawing from the same ERP and leveraging the same CRM to keep track of our clients would allow me really from anywhere to have an understanding to what I'm buying. Also, what is especially for these two, what it is incredibly difficult, and we've seen this time and time again, is where the e-commerce, mobile, and other parts of the business get disjointed, and you end up maintaining one on a separate code base, in a separate system. Let's say with mobile, you roll out some new features because you think mobile is now everything and everyone shops using their phone, which they do. But now what you run into is that there's a feature available in the online experience on mobile that is not yet available on e-commerce. And when someone switches between their cell phone or their smart device and their PC at home or at work, they're unable to find that feature. It becomes quite frustrating for our clients. And then it's an additional incentive to leave and seek a different experience to go and get their products. So, of course, ERP and CRM are very broad terms. We are talking about NetSuite, and it just so happens that NetSuite as a platform, as a SaaS, software as a service cloud system, provides ERP as well as CRM, and they're quite well integrated with all of the channels we're talking about here. So NetSuite as the glue for our omnichannel commerce. When we talk about NetSuite as this platform, we talk really about unified commerce. We want to get a 360-degree view of the customer because we have an integrated CRM system. We have a customer master record, which allows us to do things like abandoned cart. We can integrate either an out-of-the-box email marketing system, or we can use something like MailChimp or Bronto. And it really allows us to engage with the customer holistically. We also have a similar view of the item, where our inventory is managed by NetSuite ERP. We are able to really manage our items, and then if the items are going out to another system, we are of course able to keep track of that in ERP in real time. And of course, orders. So as transactions happen, they come into NetSuite, and we are able to really manage the whole system together. One of the coolest things I saw at one of our clients was a live TV screen dashboard in the lobby that really showed business as it was happening, which was incredibly cool and really only possible because the system would have to be integrated, right? So talking about specifically channel capabilities that we'll try to address really through the demo and through the conversation we've had leading up to this. And now we are talking specifically about NetSuite, not about the broader idea of omnichannel. So on an e-commerce side, we have a highly performant single-page architecture application, which is SuiteCommerce or SuiteCommerce Advanced. It is responsive out of the box, which means for mobile, we don't have to worry about what it will look like on various devices. We do have a content management system built in. It is secure, most recent updates, of course, full SSL, and it supports B2B and B2C. So if you want to do terms, it is supported quite easily, essentially out of the box. If a client insists on a dedicated mobile app, of course, there is a NetSuite mobile app made by Oracle NetSuite, but there is a variety of REST and SOAP APIs and services available. Brick and mortar, of course, point of sale, SuiteCommerce Instore, which is the evolution of the legacy NSPOS. Fully connected, real time, and uses most of the same APIs as the e-commerce front end, as SuiteCommerce and SuiteCommerce Advanced. So there's quite a bit of reuse and capabilities there. From a wholesale perspective, there is EDI support through a number of vendors. There's a tremendous vendor ecosystem. Of course, everyone is familiar with Suite apps. We can do dropship. We can do price levels depending on whether you're B2B, B2C, or a wholesaler. and a variety of other things that lay on the ERP side of the system. Call center support. Primarily, we'll talk a little bit about the roles and how dashboards work, but beyond having that 360-degree view of the customer, we are able to customize the backend with suit how our CSRs work and engage with the customer, whether it's on the phone or through a live chat app. And then for social media, we do engage in this behaviors quite often, is being able to push product feeds live, whether it's Instagram or Amazon or any of the other platforms, and then collect analytics. So you can actually make decisions based on data of where the money goes and how you want to engage with your clients. So NetSuite in action. Looks like the slide is a little bit misconfigured, but we are going to talk about Oracle's SuiteCommerce Instore and SuiteCommerce Advanced. So those will be the kind of the two things we'll touch on in the demo in the context of NetSuite ERP and CRM. So that said, we are ready to start the demo. If Mike is good to go, feel free to take over, and we're going to start sharing live presentations with you guys.
All right, sounds good. Okay. So today I'm going to demo what it looks like when you're a customer that wants to come into SuiteCommerce Advanced and you want to either purchase and have it shipped to your house or possibly pick up in store. Some of the important things to look at from a high level in terms of SuiteCommerce Advanced as an e-commerce platform. Oleg's talked quite a bit about omnichannel and the way that it affects the overall business as well as the way that it affects the customer journey. Some of the things that really can't be overstated here are the fact that SuiteCommerce Advanced really acts as the exclusive e-commerce platform that is integrated into an ERP system and has a single point of integration. And that truly does help with customer journey and frustration from the point of understanding what it is that you're going to get and expectations and fulfillment. But also it really helps from the perspective of certain things like inventory management. If you have a wholesale customer that is going to buy a lot of inventory and what's left over for a retail customer needs to be managed properly within the locations of the store, then it's important to be able to accurately display to that customer where they can get the ware that they want and how they can pick it up. Those types of things happen seamlessly with SuiteCommerce Advanced and NetSuite. So looking at this from the front end, the customer's journey is truly helped by the fact that they're going to be able to see what they're going to get and where they're going to be able to get it. The expectations are met. They're able to manage their order all the way from the front to back. The customer service representative within NetSuite has the expectation of who this customer is, what they prefer, how they like to purchase things, possibly even where they live. And all that data is really easy to use and compile within a sales order, within a customer record, so that you can accurately start to market towards that customer in the future. But once the customer purchases, we know a lot about them, especially if they're going to pick up something from a particular store. We might have some local marketing resources that we want to apply to them. I'll start out by going through that process, and then we can talk more about how we might want to work with the customer in the future. So this is a demo SuiteCommerce Advanced account. And when you come in here, you're going to see products, but I'm going to quickly show you what it looks like from a customer journey and think about how we might want to purchase something and then expect that we might want to know how to pick it up. So I'm going to click on Shop, and this is just going to display all the products that are available within this web store. And you can see as I scroll down that you have the opportunity to ship and pick up in store. By the way, there's a ton of features in SuiteCommerce Advanced that I'd love to show some other time, but really we're just focused on fulfillment here and omnichannel. So I might skip over a couple of things that are interesting, but feel free to ask a question later on about that. So when you see ship and pick up in store available for each of these different products, the first thing you might naturally think as a customer is, okay, where are the stores and how do I get them? So there's the store locator feature here. And when you come to the store locator, you'd naturally type in something like San Francisco, if you live near San Francisco like I do. When you type that in, you're going to see a map on the right-hand side just kind of confirming what it is that you're searching for. This uses the Google Maps API, so there's great things about that in terms of the accuracy of the map, being able to use the latitude and longitude in your locations records in NetSuite, but also when you do get zoomed in, you're able to see what's around the locations, and that really does help the customer to understand where they're going. If they're familiar with the area, they might know that's across the street from Bank of America, for instance, and then they can go in and pick it up. So the way NetSuite does this on the back end is each of the locations that is set up in your NetSuite account is able to have inventory applied to it and can be used as fulfillable from the web store. So that location record now has the opportunity to have an address, but also latitude and longitude. And those two pieces of information work really well together with the Google Maps API to provide this display on the front end. So when I click Find Stores, you're going to see that there are two stores that are pretty close to San Francisco. There's one in Oakland, and there's one here directly in San Francisco. And you're also going to be able to see, what's around me. And like I said, if I want to zoom in on this and get an idea of what there is available, I can do that. Once I'm looking at the San Francisco store now, it's okay, this is great. This is 1.3 miles from where I am, and I'm ready to pick it up. I can click on that, and it's going to bring me into the San Francisco store information. So, for instance, this is where the store is located in San Francisco, so you see everything around it. But also on the left-hand side here, there's a phone number. You have the opportunity to add hours of the location and things. So if you're able to pick things up and you need to know when it's going to happen, obviously that's important to be able to do right away. If you're more concerned about the full list, you can just look at a complete list of stores here. And these are the stores, Oakland and San Francisco. So the San Francisco location is the one we're going to talk about for the most part today because we have some inventory that's allocated there. I'm going to go back to my product screen here. So now we kind of have an understanding of where things are. As a customer, I know what I want to search for. I don't have to use the store locator for that, but it's just kind of nice to be able to think about that in terms of where are the locations and where might I be compared to that. If I didn't know that feature was there, it's really not a problem because when I go to the product detail page of the product that I'm looking at, I can look directly for where that's located as well. So I'm going to look at this yoga bag. And when I come to this store page, I can see that there's 148 of these available. And of those 148 that are available for shipment, there are 98 available at the San Francisco store. If I want to, I can change the store. I can start to type in something else and see if there's something available in Oakland, because maybe that's a few minutes closer to me. And I can see that there is one store near Oakland, with San Francisco, but there's nothing available at the Oakland location, so it doesn't offer me that because it would be frustrating, obviously, as a customer to see, hey, there's a location right down the street from you, but no, you can't have it. So within this span, you can see exactly how far things are from where it is that you're looking, where you're searching for, where things are available, and what the quantity is available in that store, which is pretty critical if you're going to purchase something that has, you need 8 or 10 or a dozen of them. So you see it says 148 available here on the screen and 98 available in the store. The important thing here is that this 98 that are available in this store are also available for shipment on the back end. So in true omni-channel perspective, if you're looking at this from the that you want to ship, let's say 75 of these, or better yet, if you want to ship 125, you would know that of the 148 that are available, 98 of them are available in San Francisco. From a customer service representative's perspective, now they have the opportunity to either ship from a location if they need to, or transfer to a different location to make one single shipment. So there's a lot of this which is interesting from the 360-degree view of inventory management and how that's affected. Again, this is probably more looking at this from a B2B and B2C holistic view, so that if you're ordering large amounts, you can kind of see where things are distributed. Pick something up in the store, I can add it to the cart, and when I go to view the cart, the thing that you're going to realize right off the bat is that even in the cart, you still have the opportunity to see when things are available and if you want to ship it instead. On the right-hand side of this shopping cart, you can see that there's a pickup free, and that's really indicating to me that because I've indicated that I want to pick this up, I'm not going to be charged for shipping. If I decided that I wanted to ship it, then it would start to give me some options for shipping. So you would have the opportunity to ship to your house instead. The other thing that's interesting about this is that the tax engine that was within NetSuite is part of the omnichannel experience. So as a customer, you want to know what the bottom line is, exactly how much am I going to pay for this. Once you move into proceed to checkout, if you were going to ship this, then you would have to put in your zip code, and it would tell you, based on where you live, this is what it's going to cost to ship to you. Because pickup in store is part of the back end of NetSuite and the location is understood by the tax engine in NetSuite, automatically it's going to tell you whether or not there's going to be taxes that are paid when you go to pick this up. So all of that works together with the accounting system in NetSuite and really does give you that true omnichannel experience where, as a NetSuite administrator, you don't have to worry about somebody purchasing from the web store or picking up in store because they're going to be able to have everything compliant with your accounting system as well. I should mention that as far as SuiteCommerce Advanced, as far as SuiteCommerce in-store is concerned, the interface is really similar to this. The only difference is that you are literally purchasing in-store as opposed to looking to ship. Because it's omnichannel from the in-store experience, we can drill into other locations because it would be a pretty normal thing to say, I walked into the Oakland store and I wanted to buy this, but it's not available, so I'm just going to hop across the bridge to San Francisco and I can see there's 98 available there. Either way, this gives us the opportunity to really show a customer where inventory is dispersed and make it as convenient as possible. And as Oleg was mentioning before, all of this is tailored towards keeping the customer happy within their journey so that they stay on your web store as opposed to looking for a different route to get this. Something like a larger retailer may have available inventory, but they wouldn't be able to as accurately tell you based on who you are and our understanding of you as a customer, how we can get inventory to you. And that really is the name of the game, is tailoring. Omnichannel is really about tailoring the experience towards the exact customer and making sure that they feel like they're getting that personalized experience. And this really helps you to do that. So I'm going to jump into NetSuite on the back end and show you how some of this looks, give you an opportunity to see when you do place an order and you're going to pick something up, where it's indicated, and as a customer service representative or a NetSuite administrator, how you might be able to interact with NetSuite to better this. So on my dashboard, I have a sales order list set up here, and this just shows me the recent sales orders that have come in. What's nice about this is that I have an opportunity to see things at a very high level. I can see who the name of the customer is. I can see what the source of that order was, the amount of it. And if it's been fulfilled, it's going to tell me that it's been fulfilled. And if it's been fulfilled by the point of sale or by picked up in store, then I get a picked up date on the right-hand side here. All of this is pretty standard. This dashboard is probably pretty familiar to all of you who are NetSuite users. But this is really helpful to be able to create a dashboard specifically for customer service representatives to drill directly into the sales orders or the customer views or even the item records that are needed for fulfillable inventory. So once the customer shows up at the store, the fulfilled order is ready for them. And this really starts with a customer service representative logging into NetSuite, seeing what's necessary, and fulfilling orders as they need to on a daily basis. This just being a dashboard view, it's pretty limited. If we go into a bigger view, I can start to see the status of these things. And again, this is just a view of sales orders, but I can start to see the status of the orders that have come in. Again, the source. If it was a point of sale order, then it's important for us to see the point of sale status. So was this purchased? Is it tendered? Has it been returned? Is it closed? All of these things show up here. And these are all native within NetSuite, so they give you an opportunity to understand at a high level and at a glance what's happening with the inventory that's being purchased, not just through the NetSuite ERP system, but also through Instore and also through the web store. And you can really start to see how things are dispersed. If I want to drill into a sales order, then from there, of course, I get even more information. So this is your standard sales order form, and it shows me who has purchased. It shows me that it comes in from as a source from the web store and what the sales date was. Because sales order forms are malleable, we can really start to tailor them to do whatever we want to do. We can add fields to this, but we can push information from the web store over very easily. And it's important to think about that in terms of if we picked up in store on this date, we can do that very easily, and we can start to tie things together with workflows to email people who get to the store at 8 o'clock on a Thursday that says, today you had 6 orders that can be picked up that came in last night. Make sure you handle those as first priority. And we can also work through this in an order from not within the store, but also through a customer service representative who's administrating the whole account. So somebody who's a CSR in NetSuite but works at the headquarters can call that store location and say, just verifying that you've located all the inventory that's going to be picked up today. And that single point of integration allows us to have insight into each individual location, the inventory, the customers that are coming, but also the staff that are on the ground, and make sure that they have the opportunity to provide the best experience to the customer when they do show up on a daily basis. The big thing about being able to customize sales orders as well, and when you talk about fulfilling inventory, going back to what I said earlier about marketing, is that with the information that's on the sales order, we can start to gather this information and make decision-making for digital marketing people much, much easier. So when you look at a sales order, you've got critical information about that customer. What did they buy? How did they buy it? And what did they do in terms of their journey to get there? So attribution is important, and we can populate a sales order with attribution. We talked about the source, but obviously backing up beyond the source, we'd want to be able to potentially take some information to tell the NetSuite customer service representative or the digital marketing agent within the company, how did this customer get to the store, or how did they get to the web store? So as we're running digital marketing campaigns, we push that information into sales orders that allows us to provide some really smart information and key information. Going back to the dashboard that I have on the screen here, these are places where we can start to run reports and show either KPIs or dashboard lists or reports of things that are really important to a marketing person. So we could say that yesterday you had 100 web orders, and of those 100 web orders, 63 came in through organic search, and 7 came in through a paid search, or came in through an ad that they clicked on. Or we ran an email campaign either through NetSuite or through an email service provider, but the tags that are within that email campaign allow us to understand on the sales order that's been generated what that conversion looks like. Those things become critical when you talk about the life of omnichannel beyond just what's happening on a daily basis. We need to be able to push this out further. We talked about social sharing earlier, and that social sharing is great, but it doesn't really help you unless that becomes evident within the system of record as well. So talking about being able to customize each of these records and use each of these records within the span of NetSuite itself, we have the opportunity to tie together the omnichannel experience and our view of the customer with what is becoming our proactive decision-making information. And that's probably what makes the single point of integration the most important for ongoing business development when you talk about being able to service that customer beautifully, but then you also talk about being able to target them again in the future. I'm going to pass it back to Oleg, and we can start getting into question and answer.
Yep. Thank you, Mike.
Yep.
Next on our agenda today is to do a little bit of a Q&A with everyone. There is a Q&A interface, so please submit any questions you might have, either from the presentation we did or from the demo Mike did for us.
We have a couple of questions that have been submitted from the audience thus far. Can you cover how omnichannel model with NetSuite works with multiple subsidiaries, perhaps even in different countries around the globe?
Mike, do you want to
I can take that. Sure, of course. So subsidiaries, or if you're using a NetSuite One World account, then you have the opportunity to distribute inventory, but also different information within your customer accounts across the entire system. And each of those individual subsidiaries can either be displayed or tied to a different web interface, or they can be tied to different accounts. So it's possible for you to use multiple subsidiaries within the web store, as well as through SuiteCommerce Instore, and you can support either one or more subsidiaries. An example of how this could work is you could have 3 or 4 subsidiaries that are live on a web store, and inventory or customers can be tied directly to a subsidiary. So for instance, if a customer is tied directly to a subsidiary, when they log in, the inventory that subsidiary supports would be available to them, and natively it would filter out anything that they couldn't get because they're not a part of that subsidiary. Also, you're going to have currency, payment methods, and payment processors tied directly to that sub. So the experience is pretty seamless.
Great, thank you so much. What does a typical rollout of SuiteCommerce in-store look like?
Let me answer that one. So when we talk about an in-store, we of course have some hardware requirements that needs to get placed into a store. And we also need to train the in-store personnel on how to use that equipment. So a typical rollout is where someone would look at their store, see how many stores they've got. For SCIS, you have an option to use either Windows PC hardware, or you can use iOS. And there is a list of supported hardware provided by NetSuite. You have a couple of options there, but at a really high level, you have to get that hardware into your store, get the store personnel trained on it. You'll also have a barcode scanner, cash drawer, receipt printer. So all of that will work together in the store. It really just has to be connected either through Bluetooth or on the same Wi-Fi subnet. And beyond that, there's some configuration tasks that happen in NetSuite to get the SCIS bundle configured, payment set up, and get all of that connected to the devices you have in the store. So overall, it's not a difficult process. And we've even encountered clients that are fairly familiar with NetSuite already being able to tackle it in what we'll call a guided implementation, where they really just leverage us for help and are able to do most of it themselves.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. With the self-service scenario, what does it take to implement live chat on SuiteCommerce Advanced?
I can answer that. So live chat is a third-party service, and it's whatever service you like. There are many different ways to implement it, but for the most part, it's a JavaScript snippet which gets inserted into SuiteCommerce Advanced and deployed. It's not a major customization. Typically, it's a half a day's worth of work to a day, depending on the complexity of it. But for the most part, live chat type services are they're going to be customized within the third-party provider themselves. So as the administrator of that third-party service, you'd have the opportunity to update the look and feel, set up the messaging, and whatever offline messaging and answer you want to have. There is one service, I believe it's called Volaro, which is a NetSuite app that also provides live chat. So it gathers information for support cases and things like that. We've implemented a number of different live chat services, and I think for the most part, they're pretty simple as long as you have somebody who's willing to take the burden of being available on the back end all the time.
Great. We're getting lots of good questions coming in. What are the benefits of SuiteCommerce in-store over current NetSuite point-of-sale options?
Well, in short, the old NSPOS is, we'll call it a legacy product. You can still buy a license and you can still deploy it, but really SCIS is the current point-of-sale system from NetSuite. As far as benefits go, being able to run on either Windows hardware or iOS and having the benefit of NetSuite's continuous investment. So every time there is a release, which is twice a year, there are new features and new functionality coming into it. Most recently, things like being able to do offline transactions and caching on the iOS device. And just the ease of operation and how quickly it is to deploy and train are just some of the advantages. But really at this point in time, i.e. we're kind of getting close. We're in 18.2 and not too far along from 19.1 rollout. Really SPO as a legacy product, and for a brand new deployment, I really would only look at SuiteCommerce Instore as a platform.
Who does SCIS integrate with for gift cards, purchasing and using gift cards?
So gift cards work in a very similar way they do for SuiteCommerce Advanced. So it does work with NetSuite for gift cards. If you have a gift card in NetSuite, you'll be able to do that or run it through SCIS. You can print a gift card with a barcode and run it through. From that perspective, it works very similar to how NetSuite works. We'd be happy to have a deeper conversation offline if you want to reach out to us. Gift cards by themselves is a difficult subject, and it has many dimensions in NetSuite. So short answer is it works with NetSuite gift cards. And if you want to do some kind of integration on the back end, as long as it works with NetSuite, it should work with SCIS.
Can you accept payment on SelfService Portal?
Mike, if you want to take that one.
Sure. Payment through the self-service, it would really depend on the third party that you're talking about. Typically, it's not supported as a native feature. However, there are customizations like this that are possible. For the most part, what you're going to have to do is look at the payment processor that you're using and make sure that it would support that. We've used custom payment processors for specific applications, and NetSuite is really looking to enrich their alternate payment methods. So not your traditional credit card thing. Something like a PayPal or a Venmo might work better through the self-service portal than a traditional credit card. For security reasons, you might not want to put your credit card information into the self-service portal anyway, but this would be something that we would look at as being a full custom experience that would be integrated from the live chat all the way through the payment processor. In that case, it would be a more complex integration of the self-service portal as well as the payment processor, but we could tie them all together.
Great, thank you. And we have a very specific use case question. Our use case would be to sell software license just through a website, no point of sale or inventory issues. Is it possible to receive payment from the customer at time that they place the order and then hold for the review fulfillment until they have signed the necessary contract?
So sure, the fact that you have inventory as a demonstration that we had today is not that is not the end-all be-all. We have the opportunity to use non-inventory products that we can sell either through the web store or even in person. So the inventory itself doesn't become the issue. When you talk about receiving payment from the customer at the time they place the order, there's a couple ways you can do this. You can either choose to authorize the credit card and hold funds until the time that you fulfill, which is the traditional model, or you can capture immediately. I think in this case, you'd want to authorize the funds and hold them. And you can put an extended hold on that so that you have the opportunity to review the fulfillment. And if they sign the contract, then of course that becomes the quote-unquote fulfillment in the traditional model. So I think what we would do is look at your standard pick, pack, and ship model and just augment that. So rather than doing a traditional pick it off the shelf and physically put something in the box and send it, we're going to mark something as fulfilled once you have the opportunity to review the contract and it's signed. It's also probably great to mention at this point that there are great e-document signing solutions available to incorporate with NetSuite. So if that's something that's part of your process, it would probably be a good idea to look at incorporating a custom module to the customer center that would allow the customer the opportunity to review that contract, do a secure e-sign through the self-service portal on the back end, and then have you review it and mark it as okay. There's ways that we can do that I think would offload a lot of the responsibility from the customer service representative, which is one of the things about Omnichannel, which is so important, is that when they don't have to handhold the customer through everything, they're freed up for doing things and streamlining.
Okay, great.
And then we probably have time for maybe one more question.
And if there's any further questions you'd like to ask of our presenters, feel free to submit those through the Q&A panel to the right of your screen. And while we're waiting to see if we have any further questions, just a quick reminder that you can download a copy of today's presentation by visiting the resources list to the right of your screen. Oleg and Mike, I think those are all the questions we've received at this time. Anything to wrap us up today?
Well, thank you very much. It was a pleasure getting on this call. If you wanted to follow up about really anything else, including additional demonstrations, I know we only had a chance to just touch on quite a bit of this functionality. Please let us know. Send us an email, reach out through RSM contact links, and we'll be happy to connect with you offline and then outside of this webinar. From me, thank you very much.
Thank you so much to our presenters today, Oleg Glubachansky and Mike Cordell. And again, just a reminder, you can download a copy of today's presentation slides in the resources list. We will be sending out a link to the recording from today's presentation and a copy of the slides a few days after today's event. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to you participating in a future RSM webcast. Have a great day.
Take every step without hesitation. Anticipate your next move with certainty. Because our trusted advisors help you prepare for challenges specific to your business. Our focus is always on you, so your focus is always forward. Experience the power of being understood. RSM, Audit, Tax, and Consulting for the Middle Market.